I just love New Zealand, and I look at my little grandchild, and want him to experience the country as I've experienced. The green, lush pastures and the clear waterways and so on. So I just keep focused on the big picture, the macro, and just keep believing that we're doing the right thing. And if you feel like you're doing the right thing and you have a passion for it, then motivation does come a little bit easier.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Swinfer. This is my home, and this is where my family and extended family live. Part of my life is about e-waste and sort of dealing with the problems that are being created by the amount of electronic equipment that we keep on consuming and using. E-waste begins its life as electronic equipment, which sort of permeates our life, from cell phones to computers. Problem is they do reach end of life. Some of the old electronic equipment used to last for 20 years. Now it's more like 3 years. Sometimes it's even less than that, and there's always new products coming out doing better and better stuff. So we've got this problem with more and more electronics, and what are we going to do with it when it reaches end of life? Now a lot of people don't know, so they pop it into the waste bin, they put their batteries in the waste bin, they toss it into landfill, where it ends up, and that's going to create problems for the future. The alternative is to take this electronic equipment, disassemble it, get it sort of the parts, the components of it out, and recycle them. Take them back and reuse them and manufacture new products. And that way we have a much more sustainable environment. Now there's companies like here in Wellington like Remarket, Tim Finlay out there who actually runs that company. Now they do a fantastic job in terms of taking apart the equipment. We can take at least 95% of all electronic goods and turn them into new product. If we just keep reusing them, and then it doesn't matter if we want to change our phone every 18 months or every year, not a problem, provided the old stuff is materials are being extracted for reuse.
I met Lawrence probably 18 years ago. He gets things done. He has the ability to see the vision and then to bring it into fruition. He's really outstanding to work with because he makes things happen and gets things moving.
In 2006, we ran our first sort of e-waste sort of collection day. They were a biased sample. They were the good citizens that had stored up this stuff in their place and finally found a place to do it. They knew it wasn't right. We found the awareness of people wanting to do the right thing was incredibly high. So it sort of created a real buzz about feeling you're doing something really good here, and knowing that 20,000 people, 20,000 cars would come and drop off stuff, think this is actually making a difference. Now when we totaled it all up, it was like 900 tonnes of equipment, but still as a percentage of what we buy each year, it's like 10%. We weren't solving the problem, we were raising awareness, but it gave us a good feeling. We can't leave it to that, to leave it as a voluntary once a year thing is, we've got to have sort of more sustainable options, because no matter how much you collect in that day, there's more coming down the next day. So that's where the product stewardship kicks in. Part of it was to do a survey of people that were bringing their e-waste down and dropping it off from the cars. Would they be willing to pay more for their products if they knew it was going to be responsibly recycled? Amazingly, 65% of the people that came back sort of said, look, we would be willing to pay more. We asked how many people wanted to pay for it when they take it to the landfill, as you do today. Only 9% were wanting to pay for it on disposal.
Lawrence and I have done a number of things together, like E-Day, E-Day, where we'd take a program into schools into the Wellington area to teach children about sustainability and about computers and the nasties that are in them. So I've been, Remarket's been working in e-waste for probably the last 18 years. The equipment we were getting, we could actually sell back to people. And then I thought to myself, what's happening when something can't be reused? And found out that it was going to landfill. And then the next question was really, well, is there any nasties in computers that would contaminate the environment? And yes, there was a lot of nasties in computers, and there was so much of it going into landfill. We thought, well, we need to do something about this, and so we set up a recycling facility. Just probably the majority of what we get can be reused. We obviously recycle, so we pull apart and break it down into its commodity form to stop it going into landfills.
Putting them in landfills of hazardous materials is not a solution. Everything breaks down eventually, and how long will it take, and what will then be the impact when you start to have these hazardous substances. It's not so much the damage they're doing to the earth around them, it's what they do when they leak out into waterways and start to pollute waterways. Why do we want to be responsible for risking that? I think to future generations, I think that's the challenge, saying, look, the stuff we don't know, because literally it hasn't been there long enough, but there's enough evidence that we know the substances are harmful, why bury them? No one really knows how much electronic waste we produce in this country. The UN has sort of picked up on that. They came up with 19 kilograms per head of population in New Zealand. We're right up there amongst the highest producers of electronic waste. At the rate we are going and projecting out, by the year 2030, we're going to be generating nearly 30 kilograms of electronic waste per head. And New Zealand came out in the UN report as recycling zero. So if we're generating 19 kilograms and recycling 19 kilograms, absolutely fine. That's cool. And that's a lot easier solution than trying to tell everybody to stop buying electronic equipment. People are continually being confronted by these problems. Electronic waste is sort of on the coattails, really.
Lawrence has been a big player in e-waste over a number of years and is passionate about it and has shown some really strong leadership in the whole area of e-waste to educate people and to prompt the government to think about product stewardship, to ensure that companies like ours are sustainable.
In 2008, the Waste Minimisation Act, he put that through and it was passed almost unanimously. This was a good act because it was about reducing waste, and part of that bill and that act talked about product stewardship. So the industry was on side, the government had done their bit, put the act in, and then there was a significant event in 2008. The government changed, and the new government, national-led government, said, if we don't want government interfering with business, we'll just let them do it themselves. And for 9 years, they never moved on electronic waste. They left it to the market to decide. To me, the disappointment of 2008 to now is that I'm worried a bit that people are no better off now than they were in 10 years ago. That's sort of, I guess, the biggest disappointment out of it all, that we've come all this journey, but I haven't given up. Things change with the new government. New Minister Sage, will actually drive this through. Eugenie Sage, as the new minister for this, in January this year, said, we're going to sort this problem out. Electronic waste is among the priorities. Now, they've been in power for a year. Unfortunately, still very little to show for it.
I think one of the things that people can do more is educate themselves.
If you ask any of your friends, ask yourselves, what do you do with your old computer when it goes? Where do you go? And that's the biggest question we get asked. Well, I don't know. I know it's not good to put it in the rubbish bin, but I don't know what to do with it elsewhere. Bring it to a recycling centre or store it. If you don't know what to do, store it. Put it in your garage.